Speaking to Inside the Ropes, AEW Women's Champion Britt Baker touched on WWE having interest in signing her, but noted that the company cannot be trusted, which is one of the reasons she did not sign. They definitely expressed interest. Unfortunately, I've got to pick and choose how I say this, but I just feel like you can't trust anything with that company. Whereas at AEW, I've never been promised anything that didn't follow through, so it's something that, unfortunately, it's sad that it comes down to that it makes a company not really desirable, because you can't trust anything they say. And I know business is business, and I understand totally that's what it is, but as a wrestler, business is business as well. Everything AEW had done for me, with the growth I've had here, most importantly how much fun I've had here, I truly love going to work every week. I never dread it, and that is something that is invaluable. You can't ever give that up, and if you find something where not a day in your life feels like work, then you absolutely can't give that up. I'm too thankful to AEW and Tony Khan and everybody who has trusted in me, because without them, I wouldn't be where I am right now. One reported reason for Bryan Danielson leaving WWE for AEW was to have more freedom in regards to working with other promotions. Speaking about this on the Wrestling Observer podcast, Dave Meltzer noted Bryan Danielson without going into detail, but some people will figure it out. There's an independent promotion which I believe he wants to work for, in a market that AEW has not run yet, and AEW is not against him working for that promotion. But when they run that market, they want Bryan Danielson's first match in that market to be in AEW. With it announced that she'd be making a return to WWE for the Women's Royal Rumble, Summer Rae told Renee Paquette that she was concerned that Vince McMahon wouldn't recognize her with red hair. When they called me about Rumble and stuff, at first they were like, would you be interested? Would you even consider it? That was like the second thing that I said. Oh, I'm redheaded now. I guess Sasha has every hair color under the world and Naomi, but I think I look extremely different and some people don't even recognize me, especially on socials. John Cone was like, John Laurinaitis and I will bring it up to Vince. I remember saying it in front of my sister and she was like, don't use it as an excuse. It's not an excuse. I can't just show up like this and Vince see me and be like, who the hell is that? And then they called me last Friday and said Vince wants to announce a couple of people tonight and he's thinking about announcing you. Just a heads up, your socials are going to surge. I'm thinking, I haven't told any of my best friends. I'm going to look like such a bad person. I hadn't told anyone because I didn't want anyone to ruin the surprise. When it happened, I was a little taken back. That stinks. It was supposed to be a surprise. Also, in my head I was like, I'm going to use this to market the crap out of me and what I'm doing. When I'm in the gym, it's Road to Rumble. I can reignite my beef with Natty. Bailey wrote me and started putting me over. I talked to a bunch of the girls and they were like, it's an insane match to put together. Everything changes until the moment you walk out. How is that even possible? I have no ego and feel I'm easy to work with and think producers have a time with the matches, with the personalities and egos and getting your stuff in. I would love to have a Total Divas moment and maybe a spot with Natty, and then wave to my friends. After Roman Reigns was said to have COVID, he was pulled from the Day 1 pay-per-view, which led to his original opponent for the event, Brock Lesnar, being added to and winning the WWE title match. Now that Lesnar and Reigns are both world champions, Dave Meltzer pointed out on Wrestling Observer Radio that this was not the original plan. I was told no, that they just did it because those two guys had the belts at the time, so it made sense to do it at the time. But at the time, that was not the direction they were planning on. Lesnar and Reigns are going to have a match. I think we'll have a lot better idea of what's going to happen after the Rumble, but if Seth wins and then Lesnar's wrestling Roman, I would presume Roman beats him to win a belt back, because Lesnar's not going to be around long term and Roman will be around every week. And then Rollins. I don't know what their plans are as far as how long he would go long term. They could have Big E beat him, or they could just keep Seth going. They could have Lashley or Kevin Owens. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can go. The match is still set to take place in Dallas for WrestleMania. We'll have to see how things fall into place for this bout. During an interview with TV Source magazine, Charlotte Flair touched on the negative attention she gets from fans, and she is not going to keep apologizing for her success. I just wanted to come back unapologetic. I just couldn't keep apologizing for what I've accomplished. If someone else was in my spot, they wouldn't apologize for being there. I realized I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. I just had to own it. I will never understand why people think I should be content with what I've done. I don't want to be that person that just feels like I've peaked. I always come back hungry because there is so much more that I can do. men's careers end after 5 years, they don't get criticized for wanting to do more and be better. You don't tell the men that they have an expiration date on their careers. No woman should have an expiration date. It was recently reported that Cody Rhodes did not renew his deal with AEW and has been working for the company without a contract since the end of last year, according to Fightful. Now, Meltzer has noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that a top-ranking AEW official informed him that Cody's contract situation could simply be a publicity stunt. With more news sure to come regarding this, we'll keep you posted. Alexa Bliss recently made a return to WWE programming, with her seen as a part of a therapy session on Raw. Many fans are not too excited over this angle, as Bliss took to Twitter to address those critics, writing, "Sometimes you just need to be patient and see how things play out." With Austin Theory recently picking up a win on Raw over Finn Balor, WrestlingNews.co put out a report saying that his role in the company is to put over younger stars now. Yeah, Finn was moved into the spot that Jeff Hardy had. He's just there now to help get over the younger guys. There was a pitch to make him heel, but that was weeks ago, and I haven't heard much about it since then. Vince never saw Finn as more than just a mid-card guy. Heyman would have pushed him to the moon, but Vince just never saw it. Austin Theory is going to get time to shine in the Rumble match. Last I heard, he will be in the final 4 or 5 at the end of the match. With it recently reported that Cody Rhodes has been working for AEW without a contract since the end of last year, many are wondering if he will be making an appearance at the Royal Rumble. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter would recently note that Cody Rhodes will be on Dynamite tomorrow night. He will not be in the Royal Rumble, nor will Jon Moxley. This led to CM Punk mocking the speculation of AEW stars making a WWE return, as he replied, "Working on my calendar. Am I in the Rumble?" With Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James set to return to WWE for the Women's Royal Rumble, she spoke to Ariel Helwani recently about her initial reaction receiving a trash bag from the company with her belongings following her release. So it was a weird day anyway. I was walking out the door to go do a photo shoot for my music single I had coming out, so I was literally in one of the boxes. I actually got 2 boxes, but when one of the boxes had arrived, I just kind of brought it in. I was like, oh, this is my stuff, I can use for this for my shoot like a jacket, because my jackets are in the drawer and stuff. So I wonder if there's anything in there. So then I open it and it's in a trash bag and I see it and I'm like, oh, of course, whatever. With Asuka being out of action since the summer, fans are hoping for her to make a comeback during the Royal Rumble. She was trending on Twitter, so here's some of the reactions. There's a rumor that Asuka will return at the Royal Rumble. I will only accept these people to win the Women's Royal Rumble match. Number 1, Zelina Vega. Number 2, Alexa Bliss. Number 3, Sasha Banks. Number 4, Liv Morgan. And number 5, Paige. No, because Asuka better get a spot in the Royal Rumble match or we're going to have a problem. It was previously reported that WWE and Vince McMahon are done with Finn Balor receiving pushes, but now it's come out that they don't want him heading to AEW, as Ringside News reported. Vince McMahon never had faith in Finn Balor, even as the first Universal Champion. He's seen as a high spot guy. We were also told that AEW would bend over backwards for Balor, and he would definitely be another WWE guy in AEW. Wonder if that's why he's still around. Given his pal Kevin Owens recently re-signed with WWE, this had fans wondering what would be next for Sami Zayn. Many assumed Kevin Owens would let his contract expire this month and would be on his way to AEW, with him thinking the same thing about Zayn. Now it's been reported that Sami has apparently re-signed with the company. Last month it was reported by Wrestling Observer newsletter that there was backstage chatter that Sami Zayn re-signed with WWE as his deal was coming due. Fightful Select has been able to confirm that Zayn did actually re-sign with WWE and is locked down for several more years. One person we talked to around that time said Zayn was kind of private about the negotiations, but that WWE made it clear they wanted to retain his services. With Mustafa Ali recently announcing that he has requested his release from WWE, a report has now come out detailing that the company is not granting this request. Those that Fightful Select heard from confirmed that WWE and Ali have spoken with each other and that Ali was informed that they would not be granting his request for a release at this moment. And as of now, it isn't the plan. Ali has years left on his WWE deal, but hasn't been used on WWE TV or even at tapings in over 2 months. While some suspected that he was out on paternity leave, we're told he'd only asked for one show off. Following her return to SmackDown, Lita is set to be involved in the upcoming Women's Royal Rumble. Talking about her having one last run in WWE, Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Lita could be staying with the company after the pay-per-view. Lita was announced last week for the Rumble and debuted on SmackDown on January 14th, doing an angle with Flair. She talked about coming in for a last run. It did come across like she's back as a regular for the short term as a wrestler, and not just doing the Rumble and being gone like most of the women. The injury to Banks and quitting of Storm did make them short babyface women for Flair, since Naomi, the top one pushed, is obviously building to a match with Deville. With NXT 2.0 focusing on those that are big and have an athletic background, WWE is apparently shocked by the low amount of viewers that are coming in. As WrestleVotes reported, internally WWE is said to be disappointed with NXT 2.0 in its first 4 months. Sources said they thought more fans would gravitate towards the newer stars quickly than they have. Could it just be too much? Too fast? Either way, I don't expect any changes to the concept just yet. With Drew McIntyre currently out of action with a neck injury, an update was given in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, with it said that regarding McIntyre, he's been doing rehab and decompression therapy on his neck. He's taking the John Cena approach of double sessions 6 days a week and is pretty insistent he'll make it back for WrestleMania. With Jon Moxley making his long-awaited return to AEW this week, many were happy to see the former champion back in the ring. On Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray said Moxley should have apologized to fans for letting them down during that promo. I didn't enjoy that they started off with Moxley. They came out with a bang, people were ready for it, and Moxley said what he needed to say. However, I would have liked to have heard just a little bit of accountability from Jon. I understand the whole demons thing, and we always use the word demons as a creative word to get around the real issues, whether it's an alcohol issue, whether it's a drug issue. In Tommy Dreamer's case, it's an eating issue. Everybody has some kind of demon that they have to get around. We have our demons. These demons got the best of Jon for a time period where he had to step away from AEW. I would have liked to have heard him say a bit of an apology to the AEW fans. You don't have to apologize to the boys, even though the boys do count on you, but any one of those guys and gals could have the same problem that you did, and trust me, I came up in an era where a slew of men and women had their demons. The fans expect a little bit more from you. What about the fans that bought tickets to see AEW and Jon Moxley while Jon was away taking care of his problems? I'm very happy that he left and took care of his problems, and he looked incredibly healthy last night, and I love everything that he said. I just would have loved to have heard a little bit of accountability. I don't know if I'm sorry is necessarily the right word, but maybe endear yourself a little bit to the crowd if you felt you let them down. This is coming from me, the hard ass of all hard asses. Personally, if it was me in the same situation, the first thing I would have said is, guys, I'm sorry if I let you down. I think that would have been the proper thing to do. Following these comments from Bully, Jon Moxley would end up trending on Twitter, with many fans reacting to the WWE Hall of Famer's take on the situation. Now that I've heard the comments, Bully Ray's take on Jon Moxley is absolute ass. Why? Why would he owe the fans an apology for taking care of his personal problems? Stupid shit all around. Let's all laugh at Bully Ray's horrible take on Jon Moxley. Strange from Bully Ray. This wasn't Jon Moxley the character getting help, this is real life stuff. Mox looks amazing on his return. My point is that I just hate everything that Bully Ray said here, especially when talking about Jon Moxley's return, plain and simple. Moxley's wife Renee Paquette would react to Bully's comment, writing, "Real bad take, Bully Ray." Paige would reply to that saying, "There's a reason everyone prefers Devin." What an awful, awful thing to say. While he only recently retired after 30 years in the wrestling business, The Undertaker will be making an appearance at the upcoming WWE pay-per-view. As it was noted, PWInsider.com has confirmed The Undertaker is slated to be in attendance at the 2022 Royal Rumble in St. Louis next week. While obviously anything is possible, it's most likely he is attending the pay-per-view, as his wife Michelle McCool will be competing in the Women's Rumble match, and not that he himself will be performing. It is also possible Undertaker is being brought in to film material for the WWE Network / Peacock, as the company will be filming content that weekend. This morning, AEW star Lio Rush took to Twitter to note that on February 14th, 2022, my contract will expire with AEW and I will become a free agent. For all booking inquiries, please email leorushnow@gmail.com. This is following Big Swole's comments about AEW's lack of diversity, and Tony Khan replying and insulting Swole's lack of wrestling ability. This would cause Lio Rush to demand an apology from Khan, as fans are speculating as to what took place to make Rush want to leave the company. Due to this, Swole would end up trending on Twitter, with many fans reacting to the news of Rush announcing his leave. AEW catastrophically messed up bad by pushing Lio Rush out the door, especially since it came right after doing the same to Big Swole. The questions of there being racism at the company must continue to be asked, and louder than ever. Tony Khan decided to not renew the contract of Lio Rush. Lio Rush is a free agent in February. This is absolutely happening after he spoke up for Swole. See the real face of Tony Khan. All the best, man. Wish you could have done more in AEW, but it is what it is. Look, it's definitely likely the Swole situation was a big part of what happened in the end. Shouldn't have been said for sure. Clearly just didn't work out in the end, and some people won't learn. Yeah, I'm disappointed in TK. That'll be on him for a while. AEW, to be honest, after the Big Swole situation, I thought Lio Rush may want to leave, as he was quite pissed at Tony Khan. But seeing it in writing that he's about to become a free agent is surprising, to say the least. I wonder if it's related to BS. So, the one guy who spoke up about Swole is not getting his deal renewed. The optics in that look super suspect. Speaking of releases in AEW, it seems the company could be letting go of more than just Lio Rush, with PW Insider reporting that there are several contracts coming up that will not be renewed, in addition to the departing Rush, who announced today his deal expires next month. We are told that AEW will not be announcing the departures, but will instead let the deals quietly lapse. While there has been speculation regarding the health of Vince McMahon and many fans thinking he could be stepping down and the company could be sold, Bruce Pritchard said on his podcast that the chairman is not going to be out of power anytime soon. Yeah, I can't imagine him not doing it, and I'm sure that he will continue to do it probably for the next 25 to 30 years. His mom's 101 and still going, so, he shows no signs of slowing down at all.